If you're feeling defeated and broken and like your creativity has dried up, that can be an incredibly difficult state to get out of. But luckily, a master like Julia Cameron can guide us through it. The Artist's Way is one of the most influential books on creativity ever written, I would argue. I spoke to Julia Cameron and we talked about the morning pages, the classic technique that artists everywhere use to get themselves out of a rut. I do it. Loads of people done it. You may not know that Julia Cameron was with Scorsese in like the 70s and stuff like that. She's been there right in the white heart of New York creativity in one of the most interesting times in that city's history. In this conversation that originally took place on my podcast Under the Skin, available from Luminary, sign up if you wanna, we talk about creativity, how you can access something that's almost divine when you enter into those spaces. Please stay to the end of it and let me know in the comments below what you think of this wonderful conversation.
Well, book is so like a, I know you've written like many things, and I'm focusing on The Artist's Way just because it's had such a personal impact on me and a lot of people I know. But like the idea of embracing the divine and the mystical is one thing, but like the morning page, there's so much technique in there. There's so much practice in the book. How did you come up with the idea of can you explain to people that may not know, who are listening to this podcast, what the morning pages are, and also for me, how you came up with that?
Okay, 2 points. Morning pages are 3 pages of longhand morning writing that you do first thing when you wake up. You try and catch yourself before your ego is awake. And you get to the page and you say, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is what I want more of. This is what I want less of. And you are, in effect, sending a telegram to the universe of your exact position. And you don't show the pages to anyone. They're completely private. And they are a place where you can be feeling free to vent, to be as positive as you are and as negative as you are. And what happens with morning pages is that because there's no wrong way to do them, you move past your critic. And your critic wakes up at the same time you do and starts saying, oh dear, you're boring. And you say to your critic, thank you for sharing. And you keep right on writing. And this becomes a portable skill. It becomes something that when you have to step on stage and your critic says, you say to it, thank you for sharing, and you step on stage. And the way that morning pages came to me was that I was a Hollywood screenwriter, and I had that I wrote first the script was received as this is brilliant, and then I couldn't get them on the phone again. So I was heartbroken. I felt like it was like having a creative miscarriage, to write a movie and then have it be shelved without being shot. And so I ran away to New Mexico, where I live now, and I lived in a little adobe house at the end of a dirt road, and I stared out at Taos Mountain, and I was frustrated and at a loss, and I started writing 3 pages a day, and I would do 3 pages before my little daughter woke up and came out and needed attention. And the 3 pages led me into a novel, and I thought, my God, these pages work. And I took them back to New York and started teaching, and I taught the principles I was learning for 10 years before I wrote The Artist's Way.
Oh, wow. Wow. So you had mastered it and lived it. And like you said, to this boyfriend or this man that you were in love with who inspired you, that you are the book. You became the teaching before you tried to convey it. I'm reminded of the Eric Fromm book, or at least idea of prophets and priests, that priests preach the word and the prophet is the word made flesh, is the embodiment of the word. And even though what you're doing is specifically applicable to creativity, even though as you said, it has to be about service, and I'm thinking about how that applies in my own life, is that I continually vacillate between I'm doing this for service of God to I'm doing this so that people like me. And like you said earlier, like you wanted people to think that you were a little smarty. I still have that in me. I still have part of me that's looking for approval. And when you talk about that mastery of the critic there, Julia, of being able to go like I still sometimes yield to that. I still it becomes me and I become it. I lose my transcendence. I lose that witness perspective. How have you managed to have this sustained relationship with a higher form of yourself?
Well, I've been sober 42 years, and I've been writing morning pages probably 38 years, and I do them faithfully. And I think if you look at any spiritual tradition, you'll see that there is a discipline inherent to it. And you go to a monastery and the bells ring at a certain time and certain prayers are said. And so I show up at the page and write. And then there's a second tool, which is difficult to practice during the pandemic, which is called an artist's date, which is when you take an expedition to do something festive that entertains and interests you. And an artist's date is something that fills the well. I think when we talk about creativity, we're talking about drawing images from an inner well. And sometimes when we are doing brilliantly, the well will dry up. And people will say, Julia, I was doing so well. What happened? And the answer is that I was fishing my well without replenishing the stock of fish. So I think are you allowed to go for walks during this pandemic?
I'm privileged to live in quite a remote area, so yes. What's mandated is we're allowed one piece of outside exercise a day. So I'm allowed to go for a run with my dog.
Well, I think what happens when you are able to do the one piece of exercise a day is that it's as if you have built a radio kit. And with morning pages, you're sending, and with artist dates and walks, you're receiving. You're hearing intuition. You're having a sense of a benevolent something that's in touch with you. And that's a very long answer to a short question.
Well, no, it's the perfect answer. So you you wouldn't listen to music or podcasts if you were on a walk or run because you want to be in sort of reflection and be able to receive. Is that right?
That's right. And I think what happens if you listen to music, particularly music with words, you find yourself transported to the consciousness of the artist who created it. And what we're trying to do is get you to fall in love with yourself and to be in touch with your own consciousness. And so I think one way you do it is by morning pages where you are emptying. And I think, I sometimes think, oh my Lord, I do it wrong about meditation. Because for years I have said morning pages are an active form of meditation. And it's difficult for Westerners to sit quiet for 20 minutes and do nothing. So I say sit quiet for 20 minutes and do something. And they move you in ways that a conventional meditation process doesn't. If you have a problem and you take it into conventional meditation, you meditate and the problem goes away. You realize it's trivial compared to the vast scheme of things. When you do morning pages, you have a problem, and at the end of morning pages, you hear, you goddamn well better do something about this. So they move you into action. And that's what the book is about, moving you into action on your creativity.
Well, do you feel inspired? Do you feel unlocked? Do you feel that you can go to new places creatively, that you can overcome that sense of defeat? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please subscribe to this channel. Give the video a like, share it around with other people if you would be so kind. And please turn on the notification bell because it's very important that you know when I'm creating content like this, and you can make a decision for yourself whether or not to simply ignore me. Why wouldn't you? And if you enjoyed this video, have a look at this one, very similar, or maybe have a glance at this saucy little guy. I'd love you to sign up to my mailing list so you can know exactly what I'm doing, what books I'm reading, and where I'm appearing live. And you can come and see me if you fancy. Stay free.